think there was snow in the last video I did, and that temperature doesn't include the humidity. It's probably 60–70% humidity. Going through water and beer. Plumbing stuff goes in there. Okay, it's Sunday. It's after lunch. It rained this morning, so really high humidity. And we're in for some real hot weather all week. I think the minimum is 25 in the daytime to 30 degrees Celsius. So it looks like it's gonna be 80 to 90 degrees all week long. So I'm gonna get the Norton out, go for a spin, put my GoPro helmet cam on, and see how she runs. I think I'll take the plate off that bike. I'm just beat right now. Okay, let me get this ready. Okay, let's go. First, let's get a beer. Right here. Oh boy. Okay. Just went for that little ride. That's not too far. Maybe 6 miles altogether. 5 miles. Topped it up with gas. I gotta fix the ignition switch. It doesn't shut it off. It tries to shut it off. It stumbles a little bit and then finally dies. So the ignition switch is fucked up. I got 2 of them here though. I got another one. Up here. I do have another one. I'm gonna switch that out or order a good one. I got the lights off there. Oh, there we go. It rides really stiff. Like the rear shocks are stiff. The seat's stiff. I downshifted once when I was trying to go up a gear, and luckily it caught and it squealed the back tire a little bit. I think I was going from second to third, and I went from second to first, something like that. Yeah, I can't believe I was 18, 19 years old, 1978 or 79. I just bought a BSA Lightning 650, took it to the British motorcycle shop in downtown Toronto. I think it's off Danforth, and they did Nortons, and they just said give it a good tune-up. I'm driving to Thunder Bay. And Thunder Bay is like 1,800 kilometers, I think, from Toronto, and so he tuned it all up and changed the oil, and out of the oil he pulled a nut, just like that. He pulled a nut about that size out of the oil pan. He says it runs good and everything, and it needed a shifter too, but the shifters always vibrate off on them, so we put a new shifter on it, or a new used one. And he says he's not sure what that nut is. He says doesn't think it's a connecting rod, otherwise the engine would blow up. So I drove it around, and I think I drove for maybe a 4 or 5 days or a week, and then I was heading up to Thunder Bay, and this is like September, like Labor Day weekend, and it gets cold up there, up in northern Ontario there. It starts to get cold in September, at nighttime anyways. And I drove that bike all the way up there, and the one night it dropped down below freezing. I was just sleeping in a sleeping bag by this river, and these kids brought me some firewood to keep warm with. It was a down-filled sleeping bag, but it was not warm enough. I woke up with almost in hypothermia the next morning, and there's a little town, Matisse, the French community on Highway 11, the northern route, and I was nearly frozen, and I had to drive 60 miles to the, I think it was a Husky gas station up there, to get a coffee, get warmed up, but I had hypothermia, and then I had to drive, the rest of the day it never warmed up above 45, so I drove all the way to Thunder Bay like that, and I couldn't stop shivering for 3-4 hours. Lips were blue, I was frozen. But that old BSA made it to Thunder Bay, and then from there I drove it to Fort Francis, which is another 4 hours. It's another 400 kilometers, and it ran good. And I wouldn't do that on this bike. Maybe it would make it, I don't know. But I sure want a lot of test drives on this thing before I, make sure everything's tightened up and retorqued, and I was pretty ballsy to do that back then. I wouldn't do that today, but I did it back then. Young and stupid. She runs good, pulls strong. The other thing I noticed is the speedo only goes up to about 60 kilometers an hour, then it starts to stall out there. It doesn't work, so that's probably dirty in there, the magnets and magnetron in there, I think it is. The magnets get dirty. Anyways, that's it. There's my test drive. She works pretty good. I want to try to put it in a couple bike shows, local ones, vintage bike shows. And once I get this one done here, the parts are in this week. I'm going to strip that head off, get the Yamaha back together, carbs on it, fire it up running so I know it's a good running bike, and then I'll park that one for now. At least it's a good running bike. I got fork seals to go in it too, but I'll try the carbs out and pipes out and make sure that bike runs good. And then I got the Yamaha Venture out there. I'm just going to put that carb kit into that and the fuel enricher plungers, and I'm going to sell that bike. The Suzuki, I'm still waiting for the seat. It's in the States. I'm not going to get it till June 21st. That's when the bridge opens. But in the meantime, well, the next week, I got to rebuild the motor on my truck next week. It's running on 7 cylinders out of 8. My Chevy Avalanche. So those have that, it cuts from 8 cylinders to 4 cylinders. They're a piece of shit. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace all 8 of those lifters, and it's the screen, the oil pressure screen gets plugged, and that's why my oil pressure gauge has been jumping around the last couple of weeks. And I got a stuck lifter in there now, so I got to fix that next week. That's going to take me 2 days to tear that down, clean everything up, put all new valve seals in, and get that on the road. And then I can focus more on that bike. So it's going to be another week to 2 weeks before I can really start going on this thing. I did clean the transmission all up, cleaned up all the parts, solid gear. I need 2 gears, and I need the lay shaft and the bearing. I got everything ordered, and it'll be all in next week. Oops, I was pointing the camera over there. But yeah, so this I'll have this back together. All the parts will be in next week, so I can start working on that. And clean that all up, decide whether to pull it down or not, or just fire it up. Okay, that's it for this video. The old Norton works pretty good. Dripping a little bit of oil there. It's not from anywhere in the top end or anything. And it's not under the oil lines. Got a couple drips. Okay, that's it.